Hello, Facebook family and friends, and welcome to the Doris Hall James Indie Show. The Indie Show provides a platform to showcase one's musical journey. This afternoon, I am presenting to you a special guest. He has been with the Dovels. He has done a lot of singles and a lot of performances. He has written Zoom by Fat Larry's band. And when I say he's a legend, he is a legend. And I present to you the legendary Len Barry.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Len. How are you?
Hi, y'all. I'm good. I'm always good.
And welcome.
My pleasure.
To the Indie Show.
Okay, cool.
Now, how many years has this been? Seen each other?
It's been a long time.
A long time.
25 years, maybe.
Yeah. And before we begin this interview, I would like to say to Facebook family and friends that I went to WMOT as a songwriter, my husband Fat Larry and I, and we were writing this song, and Len Barry was there, and some kind of way we joined up together as writers. Mm-hmm. And I had been writing songs for many years, but I never had anything published. But Len Barry, together we wrote this song called Center City.
That's
right.
Yeah, I just heard it the other day.
Center City, let's take a ride. Yeah.
And
that was my first song that I had published. So I want to thank you for that.
People might not know this, but Philadelphia is the only town in the country that calls that area Center City. Other places call it downtown.
But
we call it Center City. That's how we came upon that title.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a good experience, and I never forgot that. So when I have a show here, and I wanted to bring him on board because he is an amazing person, and I want you to take us through your musical journey. Tell us how, when, and where you started this. When did you start your musical journey?
Well, actually, like all kids, it all started in my bedroom in my mother's house when I would sing into it. I would sing into a hairbrush. That was my microphone.
Yeah.
And I would do all the Motown stuff with Smokey and Marvin and everybody.
Yeah.
And my mother would bang on the door and she would say, "Keep it down, keep it down. Why are you doing all that race music? Why are you doing all that race music?" That's what she called it. And I said, "I don't know no other kind of music. This is the only thing I'd be listening to, So that's how I started singing into a hairbrush. And then my first year in high school, I went to Simon Gratz.
Okay,
and
Simon Gratz.
Yeah, and then I switched over to Brook. And when I went to Brook, I started playing basketball with the varsity, who was the best team in the country at that time. I wasn't the best, they were. Okay. But we had a group on the team with me and Wally Jones and Walt Hazard and all the guys. Wally's still my best friend. I talk to him every night. As a matter of fact.
Deep in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Sleep on one hand. So we used to sing all the time. We had a group, and then I formed a separate group in Overbrook called the Brook Tones.
The Brook Tones, yeah.
Now the Brook Tones turned into the Dovels.
The Dovels.
And the Dovels, we had, a lot of success with that group.
And you were the lead singer of the
Dovels. I sang all the songs. I did Bristol Stop, Hully Gully, You Can't Sit Down.
Okay.
Quite a few. Continental.
This is great.
I did all that, and then I left out of the group, and which I really didn't want to do.
You didn't want to leave.
I was happy, and there was no. Let me tell you something. There was no other groups like that group in the country. There was a group out of Pittsburgh called the Magnificent Men.
Oh yeah, they were uptown.
They was down. They were down. Now they were down, but we were better.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
David Buck, his name was the lead singer. I was better than David Buck.
Okay, I believe you.
So we did our group. I was very upset when our group broke up. I didn't want that to happen because, we did the Uptown in Philly 3 times. We did the Apollo 3 times. We did the Regal, the Royal, the Howard. We did Watts. We did Chicago. We did the whole circuit. We was the onlyest white group to do the whole circuit. And I was thrilled with that because it hadn't really been done before. Most of it, I'm just going to speak frankly.
Right, go ahead.
Yes, only one I know how to be, all right? Mostly when the white groups did the black circuit, they were greeted politely and tolerated, but our group was thunderous.
Yeah.
I mean, we was bad. I'll tell you how bad we was, right? We did James Brown's baseball routine.
Okay.
On the James Brown show. That's how nasty we was. And the group, I was thrilled being in the group. But then again, there's always problems and negative chemistry, and it happened. So I left. Reluctantly, I left out the group, and I went on my own. I had 1, 2, 3 in somewhere, and I was very gracefully accepted by everybody. And but you have to realize, in the industry, everybody in the record industry, which is where I'm from. I'm not from show business. I'm from the record industry.
Okay.
Everyone in the industry knew who I was, that I was Lenny from the lead singer of Dovell. But the public did not know that.
No.
So when I left them the name that I had built, that I had created, the hits that I had. I left everything with the group, and I left unknown by my own self, which was a little bit scary when it should have been very scary. But I was young, cocky, arrogant, gifted. So I wasn't too afraid. I went out and did what I did, and I had a great career, and I had an unbelievable career overseas. And like everything else, time changes things. But I always had success as a writer. I wrote, all during my singing career, I wrote for other people. I wrote for Aretha and people like that.
Isn't
who
that
just passed.
great?
We just
Isn't
lost
that
her.
Great?
And so I kind of started singing to a hairbrush in my mother's house, and I stopped singing never. I'm still singing.
Still singing.
I just finished some stuff that I just did, which everybody will tell you. But my stuff is, at least to me, it's not old-timey, because I'm not old-timey. I don't think that way. So it transfers to my creativity. So my creativity is never old-timey. It's not always great, but it's never old-timey. You know what I mean? It's always current and ahead of current, unfortunately.
Well, how long did when you were we met at WMOT.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay with WMOT?
Not long. They could be pretty intolerable. I mean, first of all, they wouldn't pay anybody.
It's the real scoop, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't pay nobody. So I got all my money from the publishers of, from BMI and ASCAP and overseas. The overseas publishers paid me. But as far as getting money out of MOT, it was almost impossible. And then the guys had a little bit of a problem with legitimacy and getting busted and all that stuff. So I didn't want nothing to do with that either, So I left out of MOT, But MOT just fell apart. Really.
But they fell apart, but they moved from Vine Street to Spruce Street. Is that when they fell apart?
Yeah, well, they got the guy that took over ownership. He went to jail. Mark somebody, Stevens or something like that. He went to jail for like 30 years. They had a lot of problems over there. Some of them got away with it, and some of them didn't. But I had to get out of that because I didn't know.
Well, when you were with WMOT, you wrote for. Let's talk about Sweet Thunder. And
I love Sweet Thunder.
You wrote, but baby, I need your love.
Yeah, and I wrote Lovetown also for Booker, and I wrote all Damon's album.
Okay.
The Damon Harris album.
You wrote that.
Give a Broken Heart a Break. All that stuff. I wrote that stuff for him too, and I just kept on.
And then you wrote Fat Larry Zoom.
Yeah, It was. I love that group. It was like it was the most fun and had the most personality of more than any of the groups I worked with, and I also had Philly Cream.
That's right. Yeah, Philly Cream.
And we did Ain't No More Motown Review. You remember that?
No.
Ain't No More Motown Review.
I think I do.
And the Beatles have broken.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I did. Yes, I
so we did Motown Review. We did that with Brandy Wells who was Peaches to us, you know.
Yeah.
And I wrote Sunrise for Peaches too. That's my
Okay,
song.
and this is a song. This is a song that Slick did. This is a song that they always talk about, Sunrise.
They still play it every Sunday. They play it all day on WDAS.
And then we have a radio show, Philly Live.
Philly Live Radio is our internet radio station,
Yeah.
and every morning from Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
Sunrise is the first.
They
song
still
played.
play it all
It's
around
a
the country.
beautiful-
WRL still
a
plays it.
beautiful
And,
song.
it was a really gratifying thing for me to have it accepted like that by the community, you know. And
you did some great
she
things.
was unbelievably talented. I mean, she was a mess. I mean, her head didn't work, and she got herself into more BS and more trouble. It was almost unimaginable. But when she opened her mouth and she sang, I mean, I have a lot of friends, not a lot of friends. I'm not that easy to be friends with, to tell you, because I will tell you about yourself, and I will tell you about myself. I will tell me about myself. So I don't feel bad about telling you about yourself. But you don't get a lot of friends like that. But anytime I ever sit down with my people, and we talk about great artists and great singers, everybody agrees that she was the best of the best. She was absolutely the best of the best, and she just couldn't get it together. I mean, her head was all over. But I think that's some of the dues you pay for being that good.
Yeah, and we all tried. Everybody tried to work with her, but we just
It was almost impossible. I wanted to do a recut of Bobby Womack's. I Can Understand It. Something sweet like a candy bar.
She did that on her album,
Yeah, I cut that.
Oh, okay.
You don't know what I had to go through to cut that. She would disappear for 3 whole days at a time just so that she didn't have to go to the studio. And I never could figure out why. Well, Terry was in her ear.
Yeah, Terry.
Oh, man. He's a priest now or something?
Yes, that's what they say.
That's really a joke. That's the devil. That's the devil trying to be an angel. Anyway, so he was in her ear. It just was almost impossible to get her to do that. So she finally did it, but it was like half-hearted, you know.
Yeah.
Peaches, if she didn't want to do something, boy, if she did it halfway, he was in trouble. But I loved her because I knew she was nuts. And I loved her anyway because it really wasn't her fault. You know, she came from the hood and Chester and everything, and she, being from that environment, and she wasn't faking it. She was for real. She really found it hard to trust. She couldn't really. She
was a good person, though. She was a good person. She was a good person, but she had issues.
Yeah,
and like a lot of us have issues when we're young and adults too. And it was more pushing her to do something and helping her through her issues.
Yeah, but she would get in the way of her own career, her own self. You know, she would make it impossible to work with her, not because you disliked her, because no matter what you did, you kind of understood where it was coming from, you know. So, but it became non-productive because she was such a mess, you know. But when she passed, I was sick. I was sick because she had never made it. You know, and I thought that she deserved that final feeling of satisfaction of having made it. Now, I'll tell you what's analogous to that is one of my very, very best friends in the whole world was Bunny Sigler.
Bunny, y'all. How about Bunny?
We just buried Bunny, not
Yeah.
long ago. And I always felt the same way about Bunny, that to me, he was the greatest male act to come out of Philadelphia. And I'm putting a parenthesis around this, that never really made it. And I always thought it was such a shame that he never really made it. But if you knew Bunny, you knew that he knew he was the baddest thing out there. So he really did make it. I mean, Bunny knew about Bunny, you know, and Bunny could kind of deal with the fact that, hey, look, if they didn't want to give me my high five, I know it's me. I know I'm the baddest thing out there. But Peaches wasn't like that. She wasn't as aware of that, so she really never got the she never got the high five But it was when Bunny passed, I just couldn't believe it.
Well, you traveled the United
I wrote Bunny's
Kingdom.
first
Well,
chart. Girl, don't make me wait
Oh, did
too
you write
long, cause
we
without
gotta
you
look
I
up all
can't
these
go
songs
home.
Facebook
Yeah, I wrote
has,
that for
that
Bunny
he
too.
has written, because he has written a lot of songs, and we've got to know, because I know that you're still doing things. I know that you traveled in the United Kingdom with the Motown Review. Did you
Yeah,
do
I did.
that? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
I had a great deal more success overseas. I'm grateful for my success in America, but I had much more success overseas. I was living in London and they don't call it an apartment, they call it a flat. I was in my flat and my phone rang and it was Barry Gordy.
Okay.
So Barry Gordy said, "Hey, Len, now let me tell you about me and Barry Gordy. We were not tight."
Okay.
Because when I left I left Decca Records in Madeira and White, who were really, I want to give them a high five. They meant so much to my career as a single act. They really did. But I left out of there and I went to, RCA Victor for a while. And that was like a death sentence. So I left out of RCA and I went to.
Real deal here.
My best friends in the industry were Marvin and Smokey, and everybody had a Motown. So I went up to Motown and everybody was all excited about me going with Motown, because they had Tina and Tina Marie, and they were looking for a white male act, to kind of break down that barrier, So I went up there, and Smokey brought me into Barry's office and everything. So we decided, he said, we'll give you $25,000 to sign. I said, all right, that's cool. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's okay. So he said, and then he said, so then they gave me this contract, and I was with Jimmy Wisner, the famous arranger he just passed too at the time. So he was like my advisor, and there was a clause in there that said no guaranteed releases pending the opinion of the Board of Inquiry, which met every Monday to sit down and review the latest product. And if they didn't give you the thumbs up, you went back in the studio and they wouldn't release anything. So I said to them, everything else is livable, but I can't, but I know how you are. I'm just going to say what I got to say, right? I know how you are, and how Smokey is, and Marvin, and my girlfriend at the time was Gladys Horton, the lead singer of the Marvelettes. Yeah. So I know how y'all are, but I don't know about them people in that room and how they're going to feel about this white boy bringing in product that they have to say they love in order to get released. So if you just take out that clause, everything else is livable. I'll work. They didn't want me to work with Smokey. They want me to work with Holland Dozier and Holland. I said, that's fine. Everything else is fine. But you got to guarantee me that my stuff is not going to be up to the opinion of the quality control. That's what it was called, quality control. So he said, I can't do that. I can't tell my people that everything we've built as a procedure is going to be rendered useless when it comes to you. So I said, well then, I can't do that, Barry. Everybody's not you. Everybody's not Smokey. Everybody's not Gladys. I can't do that. So it didn't end well at Motown, which I was more disappointed than anybody else involved. Believe me, I wanted to be on that label. So anyway, a couple of years later, I was living in London, and the phone rang, and it was Barry. Barry said, "Hey, Len." I said, "Hey, man, what's up?" He said, "I need a favor." I said, "I don't have a whole lot of favors for you, but what is it that you need?" So he said, "I want to send, hey, Matt, all right, I want to send the Motown Review over here." But he said, "But you're so hot in Europe that I would like you to be on the show as a special added attraction."
Okay.
So I said, well, here's the thing. Okay. You got to pay me special added attraction money. You understand?
I love this.
So
I love it.
We hashed back and forth and all that. He said, I'm going to have to get back to you. So he got back to me, and we got most of what I asked for.
Okay.
So the first time that the Motown time, it was that time it was so early in the phenomena that it was actually called the Tamla Motown Review. Because before Motown became the label, the big label was the yellow label was Tamla. Smokey and them was on Tamla. And so we went over there, and I was a special added attraction on the Tamla Motown Review. And we broke all records. I mean, we were supposed to be there like 8 weeks, and we wound at 11 weeks. We renewed the whole contract. We included Scotland and Ireland, and we went to Australia. We went to Brisbane. We went every place in Wellington, and it was a great moment in my life because, like I said, they were my best friends anyway, and I got paid a whole lot of money, and I enjoyed it immensely. Absolutely, it was one of the great moments of my life. That and then James Brown. The first show I ever did in my life, I was 17 years old, and Bristol Stomp had just gone to number one.
Oh my God!
Had just gone to number one in the world, and my manager at the time, he was like an offshoot of the record company, Cameo Parkway, who I was with. They made you have a manager out of their organization. The whole thing was like it was like Jewish hoodlums, you know. So the manager at the time was Nat Siegel, who was Jerry Blavat's manager.
All right.
So he brought me into the office. He said, "Boy," it was almost like a comic strip character. He said, "Boy, I got a gig for you, boy." So I said, "What's up, Nat?" I didn't even know what a gig was. Believe me when I tell you. No, I was 17. I hadn't graduated Overbrook yet. He said, "Well, as soon as you graduate this summer," he said, "I want you to go on tour." He's talking about the whole group, of course, but he always addressed me. I said, "Okay, well, what's the thing?" I said, "First of all, we don't have an act. You have to give us, we'll start rehearsing and try to put an act together and everything." He said, "Yeah." He said, Ben Bart called me. Ben Bart was the head of a big conglomerate that managed James Brown and Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. I said, "Yeah, well, what's the deal?" He said, "James Brown wants you to go on the James Brown tour." So now,
shout out, yes.
I knew the name. But don't forget, I'm 17 years old, and I'm a Motown fanatic, So I knew about James and everything. So I said, "Yeah, well, that's cool." I said, "So how come he want us?" He said, "Well, because he thinks that y'all's bad and everything." I said, "No, that's bullshit." He says, "Well, he thinks that he can get some white people to go to his shows." I said, "Thank you for the truth." So we went down there, and I had never been on an airplane in my whole. I had never done anything in my whole life, believe me. My girlfriend at the time, which is a real story in itself, her name was Mary Louise Brown. So, hey, hi, Joe. So we rehearsed and we went down, and I flew. Wasn't even a jet plane. It was a 4-engine prop plane, Eastern Airlines. I thought I was dying the whole way down. So we landed in Atlanta, and this was amazing. I was just a kid, and we took this like jitney kind of a little bus from Atlanta to Macon, and the rehearsal was in a place called Magnolia Gardens, of course, right? I mean, and the first show was in Magnolia Gardens that night in Macon, Georgia. But here's the thing too: it's like, when you're a young kid and you don't know nothing, and then you see some stuff that shocks. So when we was riding from Atlanta to Macon, I was sitting up front with the brother that was driving, and all the mini hoodlums in my group were sleeping with their stinky ass legs in the air and everything. And I was sitting with the driver, and I looked out the window, and I saw something that I had never seen in my life, that I didn't know existed, that I had heard rumors about it. It was Tobacco Road. All out the window, almost the whole trip, were these shacks. Mm-hmm. And these shacks had half a roof, screenless windows with bugs and flies, and screen doors that were half open and half closed. And all the little kids playing out front with no shoes, in the mud, and I was dumbstruck. Just, I wasn't crusading. I wasn't crusading her. I wasn't going to get out and say, "Here, do you need money?" Nothing like that. But I was just dumbstruck. I had never seen anything like that. Didn't know it existed. I mean, I had heard that it existed, but
It was Lou Rawls that did that song, right? Tobacco Road.
yeah, he did the original Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road. I was born in a trunk. My father died, and my mother got drunk. Yeah. So it was Tobacco Road. Then we got to Magnolia Gardens. So we walk into Magnolia Gardens, and there was 5 of us at the time. Jimmy, our bass singer, he was a big James Brown. He knew everything James ever did. So we walk into Magnolia Gardens and carrying the music, and we got rehearsal, right? So up on the stage is James, all the brothers in James's band, and they laying down, hanging out on chairs and shit. And James had dancing girls at the time called the Brownies.
Okay.
And the Brownies is all up on them and everything, you know. And we walk in and don't nobody move. All the instruments is on the stage, and we walk from the back of the auditorium to the front and don't nobody move. No respect at all. So all of a sudden we're there for a few minutes. You don't know how to act. I did not know how to act. I didn't know whether to say, "Hey, what y'all gonna do?" or just be cool, you know. So I was just being cool. And all of a sudden the back door opens, and here it comes.
Exciting story.
Here he comes,
Such an
and he comes
exciting
halfway down.
Yes,
He comes halfway down the aisle, and I hear this.
Yeah.
The first words out of James Brown's mouth I ever heard. He goes, and let me tell you something. Them brothers jumped up. They jumped up on the chairs and them chairs out, and they was behind them instruments in 3 seconds, and them girls disappeared, you know, and they was ready to play. But I said, "Oh, that got to be the man," you know.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah." So, you know, everything was cool from then on. We, you know, you don't become friends with James Brown, but you know, he gets a certain acceptance attitude towards you, you know. And we became, and then, okay, so the first night, you have to understand how things were back then. It was, downstairs was for all the brothers and sisters, and that was a certain price. And then the balcony, that was for white people.
Okay.
And that was for $250 more. Yeah, they had to pay $250 more. And there were signs up. There was actually signs that said white people in the balcony. So I'm looking at this, and my world did not have any of this information in it when I went to Magnolia Garden. So we go up.
Well, this is James' world.
James when James's bus would pull into town, that day was done. It was a holiday from then on. As soon as he turned into the main street, no matter what town it was down there, Biloxi, Mississippi, didn't matter, man. It didn't matter. The official day was at an end. It was part of the weekend at that point. But so now we go up and we go on stage and we do 2 songs. We do Jerry Butler's "For Your Precious Love," and then we do the Bristol Stomp. So we come down, and then Magnolia Gardens was almost like a mini kind of gymnasium kind of a thing. So the dressing rooms were almost like locker rooms, you know. So everybody else on the show was me, was our group, was Sugar Pie DeSanto, the Midnighters were on the show, Hank and them. And then on the way down, I figured I'd change clothes because the sister that I had just met, she told me, she said, "Hey, look, man," she said, "you see this chair?" She said, "I'm going to hold this chair for you. You go ahead and change your clothes. Come back up. You're going to see something that you never saw before." So I go down. I'm going to change clothes. So I can go see James, right? So now I walk past this dressing room, which is a locker room. And there he is. Check this out. I'd never seen anything. I didn't know this existed. He was laying on this couch. And he was there was a girl doing a pedicure, and there was a girl doing a manicure.
Right. Yeah.
And his hair was under a hairdryer.
Yes.
And his valet had brought in a whole lot of clothes for him to pick out an outfit for that night.
Yes.
And I looked in and I just stood in the doorway because I didn't want,
Shout out to James Brown, right?
My man was tight, you understand?
Yeah,
I mean, he was tight.
tight.
I'm saying to myself, damn, this is the stuff, this is the way you got to go. So anyway, every once in a while we would speak. He like, and I remember, what was her name? We became tight. Let me see. Anyway, I watched James almost every night. I would watch his entire show. Did you ever see the James Brown show when it was new?
When he first came out?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the first artist I have seen. And I went to the show and he was doing Please Please with the cape.
Oh man,
that was the first one.
The first time I ever saw James, I was sitting on a bridge chair at the side of the stage, and the announcer said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, the man that brought you, please, please, lost someone."
Yes, that's the first.
Unbelievable. And then he said all them things, and then he would say, "Now here he is, ladies and gentlemen, James Brown," and the band would start playing. But the only thing is, there was no James Brown for a long ass time. Because first of all, the band played and the band danced. And then the dancing girls came on, the brownies came on. They did 10, 15 minutes. And then the famous Flames, they came out and they routines, right? So before James came on, there was this whole other show before he ever came on. And then he comes from the side of the stage on one foot, doing the mashed potatoes across the stage on one foot, and he would do all across the stage, and on the way back, then he would reach out and he would grab the microphone and he would say this unbelievable sentence, which was, "Ha!" That was it. And then he went back and started dancing again, and the whole place was vibrating. And before he ever sang the first song, it was bedlam. It was over. The challenge was gone. He was the king. He was the Führer. He was whatever he wanted to be. But
okay. Gilbert's here, and he wants me to say hi to all our Facebook family and friends for joining in to this evening or this afternoon. We're sitting here interviewing Len Barry, and I want to say hi to Harry and Sean and Shirley. Hi, Shirley Lights, and Keith and All-Star Vanessa Harper. Hi, Vanessa. Gordon, Derek, Janice, and Judy, Marcy Francis, Ella Francis, and Marcy. Okay, Walter Walter Bryce. Thank you very much. This is the Doris Hall Indie Show, and we are interviewing, Richard. Hi, Richard. We're interviewing the legendary Len Barry, and he is telling us like it is. And we are having a good time.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, all right.
So that was my first.
Now tell me about American Bandstand.
Oh, well.
Let's get some of that in.
American Bandstand was a phenomenon. It was one of a kind thing. And let me tell you, you watch them kids on television and everything, and they look like the joyous little bubbly. There was rats. If rats ever was, they resented you. That was their show. They were the stars of that show. When you showed up, they showed you no respect, absolute, total disdain. And I remember when we went there was no dressing rooms. There was nothing. We had a change in Tony Mamarella's office. Tony was the director of the show. We changed clothes in his office, and we went up and we did the show and everything. And the kids were just very disdainful. They just gave us a polite round of applause, but they never let us forget that was their show. So, and I did the show quite a few times. I did it 3 times with the Novels, and I did it twice by myself. And I never got off on doing that show. And I don't know. Well, you got to respect the people that have passed.
Right.
The stardom, Dick Clark was a nice person. But there were many, many more people in this world that could have reached his level of notoriety
It might have been for him.
Who had it coming to him a lot more than Dick. You know, he was an exceptional person without being an exceptional talent or anything like that. But he was smart, and he had an opportunity, and he was very kind and very nice and very decent. So, but he was, you know, he became a better publisher. He became a literary publisher. He was really good at that. But you know, I was sorry to see him pass, especially the way he did to go out like that and everything. But the Bandstand was Bandstand. Now, when Bandstand moved out west and became American Bandstand, it sucked because them kids couldn't dance. The white kids in Philly could dance. The white kids in California, they could surf. But they couldn't dance. So the show, you know, folded out there because they couldn't dance. Who's going to tune in to watch them stumble over each other for 2 hours?
Well, now let's talk about, because we want to do this in a time frame, and I want to get some more things from you. I want to talk about your new CD that you have coming out and your book.
Yeah, I have autobiography coming out, and my first book was published by Random House, and I have a copy of it. I'll show it to you when we go back. I'm sorry, I should have brought it, but I don't grandstand too much. My CD is called, you're going to get off on this, right?
Okay.
Len Barry, the King of Black-Eyed Soul. Because let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
All my life, I have cringed when I have been referenced as Blue-Eyed Soul. I am not a righteous brother. I am none of them phony-ass California dudes, you know, that be imitating. I ain't imitating no goddamn body. I grew up in the hood in Strawberry Mansion in North Philadelphia. I came up that way. That was my music. That was my lovers in my life. We're all sisters. And I mean, I am not Blue-Eyed Soul, and I wanted the world to know that there's a difference. You know, I didn't go to the studio and imitate nobody. I just opened my mouth and that's what came out because that was my environment. I mean, that was my whole life. I mean, my wife was Jamaican. I married a Jamaican girl. Okay. We're doing something here, Grace.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
I'm having fun, so
all right.
I just come to say hello.
Hello.
I'm not allowed to say hello to you.
You just did.
Hi to him.
You're all over the internet now.
I won't come no more.
That's okay, Grace. That's okay.
All right,
Grace, say hi. Say hi.
Say hi, Grace. Say hi to everybody.
Say hi to everybody right here.
Oh.
She wouldn't butt in, right? So that's
Sorry to show.
That's what my CD is called. Len Barry, King of Black-Eyed Soul.
Now we have a lot of
What are you doing here?
inspiring
It's an interview.
songwriters.
Interview for what?
Okay, we have a lot of inspiring songwriters out here. And you know, when you and I were talking, and we got to talking about how do you create these songs, how do you write these songs? Can you go through that, you know, that scenario with our Facebook fans?
Well, okay.
Creating that song.
To me personally, the first spark of creativity that you get is the best that it is.
Okay.
When you get that idea in your head, that first spark, like when I thought about 1, 2, 3, we're doing
1, 2, 3.
Right. When I thought about doing 1, 2, 3, a song about numbers, and I sat down and I got the idea 1, 2, 3, and the first thing I did was I wrote the poem, and I had written 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's how elementary it's gonna be. Come on, let's fall in love. That's all I had.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay. This is Grace. Grace is back with us. Come on, Grace. Say hello.
Hello, hello, hello. What a wonderful word. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. You can hear it wherever you go.
Okay.
Do Grace miss you?
Okay, Grace. Listen, we can come and interview you next week. Okay.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
Okay, great.
What a wonderful word. Hello. I love you all.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Grace.
And that was
Thank
great.
you.
Go get you fixed, Grace.
Okay,
So,
let's go through this.
I only had the opening. I didn't have the ending. I didn't have like like taking candy from. It's easy like taking candy from a baby. That didn't come to me at the same time, but I knew I had the crux of it, you know. So I didn't rush it. And then one night I was laying in my bed, and it flashed into my mind. I'm not a religious person by nature, but I thought I heard a voice that said, second expression. And through the course of that night and the next morning, I came up with, it's easy like taking candy from a baby. But to me, if you don't have that idea, don't write the poem, don't write the song, because I love you. Nobody wants to hear it now, you know. So I mean, have a great idea, be sold on it, be committed to it, and then sit down and do it. But if you don't have a great title, don't do it.
Okay. So the title should come first, and then you write based on the title.
Yeah, I do. That's what I do anyway. I mean, I discard a lot of ideas all the time because they're just not. They don't perk in me. They don't. They don't effervesce in me. So.
Now, have you done any films or?
What do you mean?
TV, films.
I did
movies.
Yeah, I did movies.
Movies.
I did a movie with Chubby Checker many years ago.
Oh, now he brought up something that.
Chubby Checker.
Yeah, but Chubby Checker did Twist, right?
Yeah.
Twist.
And who did it before him?
Hank Ballard.
Hank Ballard.
Hank Ballard. He wrote
Now
that.
you mentioned Dick Clark.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was there something going on right there?
Well, there was a whole lot going on with Dick Clark. Look here. Let me. All right, let me get into it. So I did a movie called "Don't Knock the Twist" with Chubby, and see Dick Clark.
That was Hank Ballard.
Hank Ballard.
Yeah, Hank wrote that.
Yeah.
You know, finger popping time. And there's a thrill up on the hill. Let's go. I think there's a hot party over across town. Doo-be-doo. Around the line all around. Put on your pretty red dress. And let's go see about this. Okay, so we did that. I did that movie with Chubby. And see now Dick. Well, the R&B world and the world of pop music, the only thing they have in common is the word music.
Okay.
But there is nothing similar between those two entities and how business is done. Now, if you're with Motown or you're with Atlantic Records and you're a promotion man, what you do is you go out to WDAS and you have an envelope in your inner pocket and you sit down with the DJs and everybody gets a little taste and they play your records. That's the way it's done in black radio.
Okay.
Now, pop radio don't work like that. See? So Dick Clark, the way he got his gratitude for playing people's records on Bandstand, well, he owned a piece of the company. That was his price. So he actually was a 1/3 owner in Cameo Parkway Records. That's why Bobby Rydell was a star. That's why Chubby Checker was a star. That's why Dee Dee Sharp was a star. The Orlons, oh, by the way, I have a story to tell you about the Orlons, and the Times. I was all in that one housing, and Dick owns 1/3 of that label. So when you put out a new record, the people at the record company called Dick Clark and they said, we want so-and-so to be on the show next week. He said, call back and say, all right, Thursday, 2 o'clock. So that's how everybody exploded out of that label.
Isn't
Now,
that something?
when I was a kid, I used to drink when I was young, 17, 18, at a bar on 52nd Street called the Aqua Lounge. And right up the street from the Aqua Lounge was Stevie. Stevie lived there, the kid, Stevie, the bass singer from the Orlons.
Okay.
So he would come down to get like 40 ounces and stuff to take back to rehearsals and stuff. I didn't know nothing about it. So he heard me talking at the bar one night, and the bartender's name was Candido. the conga drummer out of Olatunji's group. So we were talking one night, and Stevie heard me and said, "Hey man," he said, "you know, why don't you come listen to my group one night?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to." I said, "Let me get a little buzz. I'll go with you." Chancellor Street, right up 52nd and Chancellor. So we went up, and there was 3 girls and him, and then it was the Orlons. And
3 girls were the Orlons.
Yeah, the 3 girls were the Orlons. You know, Don't Hang Up and South Street and all that. So they were undiscovered. So I brought the Orlons to Cameo Parkway.
Wow.
And I introduced them to everybody at the label, and then they recorded Don't Hang Up, and then they did South Street, and they exploded, you know, and they became a big group. And let me tell you something. That record company never paid me one dime, never gave me, I'm not complaining, that's the way it was, you know, and never gave me a finder's fee, never, but the girls and Stevie, to this day, Stevie's a good friend of mine. He calls me all the time, and when he heard I was sick, he was very upset by it. And I said that, you know, I said to him one night, I said, "Stevie, that's really nice of you to be concerned about me and everything like that." And Stevie turned around on the telephone and said to me, "Lenny," he said, "let me tell you something." He said, "You gave me my whole life." He said, "and I'll never, ever forget it. You gave me and the girls a life to live." And all the girls are dead. There's nobody left alive. Loretta Hightower, she died overseas. She moved to England. She died. Shirley Brickley died here. And his wife, who he married one of the girls in the group, she passed away too. So Stevie's the only original. And here's the way things go on. Their nieces became the New Orleans.
Okay.
So when I did my CD, I called Stevie, and we was talking about some of the ideas and everything. And he loved it, you know, the King of Black Heights. So he absolutely loved it. So he said to me, "Look," he said, "let me tell you something. You need background voices. We're there. You just tell me where to be, where we're going to record, and send me a demo of the background parts that you want and everything. And we're your voices, and we don't want no money. We don't want nothing. We're just paying back a whole favor." So they did, and we're still tight. You know, I still and if that gratitude has lasted longer and means more than any money that the record company could have given me and everything. It's just about people, you know, and he just never forgot it, and I never forgot how I will carry how grateful he is for the rest of my life. You know, it's a great thing when people appreciate something like that.
Well, man, we're gonna have to cut our interview short now.
Okay.
But I want to thank you. I want to give you a big hug.
Okay,
It's
honey.
been many years.
Love
years.
you. I
And
loved
I
Larry.
want to thank you for giving me that opportunity.
My
to
pleasure.
appear.
Anytime.
And anytime you want to tell some more of your story, you just call and we'll bring you right back on.
I have you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Facebook family and friends.
Okay. One more thing about the book.
Yes.
Okay. When is the book coming out?
It's supposed to come out right before Christmas.
Okay. Is there anything else coming out too?
Well, I have a CD coming out, but I don't know when. I just did a song. My last song on the CD is called "The Fountain of Funk."
Okay. All right.
It's so funny.
And it's the song. The song says, "Gray, how I dreaded the coming of the day, but I played me a hunch and pumped up the funk, and let the brothers play the gray away."
Oh, okay.
It is bad, you know. So that's the last song. I'm just about finished that now, and then when I'm done, I'll wind up with a release date, but I don't have it yet.
Okay.
I'll be in touch. I'll holler
we'll
at you.
stay in
No, I will
touch.
holler
Okay,
at you.
all right.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, we.
I want to say, wait a minute.
Okay,
Just
go
say
ahead.
thank you to Philly Live Radio. Thank you, Gilbert, for producing the show for us.
You know what I'm gonna play when I get back.
What you gonna play?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, man. And we.